So would you dowse over which aromatherapy oils to use on for a particular problem as well?
Oh yes. The way I work, I've worked with about 400 oils. Because I work with them often enough, my brain, you could say, knows the barcoding of each oil. So I don't always have to hold the oil to use it. I can go along the list and say, do I use benzoin, do I use bergamot, do I use chamomile, do I use juniper, do I use anything more exotic like amber or things like that? Because my brain knows what they are, I don't have to hold the bottle to do it.
But I suppose that there could be quite often several oils that could be used for the same complaints, and it's using your intuition as to which one would be best.
This is the way you set your dowsing up, because I work on the fact that what is the most effective way to get the result, then which is the cheapest way. I may have one oil like Moroccan chamomile, which is reasonably cheap, and another one like Roman chamomile, which is most expensive. And I may find I need 5 drops of Moroccan or 3 drops of Roman.
Right, so you do
to get the same result.
Well. Right.
Always do quantities. You can't just chuck oils in, you have to do quantities with it as well. So you look first of all for the main oil, then you would look for the quantity of oil, then you would look for the base you would put it in. Because some bases have an effect as well.
Right.
So then you're looking at the overall effect. After that, I go back to by what percentage am I improving the person? If it's not a very significant percentage, is it really worth doing for the person? Is there some better way, some better therapy, or some better medication, allopathic medication? And you plot your route that way.
So it's actually quite a complicated business, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
It's not a simple yes and no answer, is it? It's delving right into the depths of the problem.
This is it. You've got to go to the cause of the problem. And you've got to go to the emotions behind the problem as well, and the mental state.
And spirits are all very connected, aren't they?
Oh, yes. An example I use when I'm teaching, because I used to teach some of this for the British Society of Dowsers, is that if you have a young mum who has, say, 3 or 4 young children running around her feet all day, and then has a really bad cold one day and is laid up in bed, so all the mothers and in-laws start looking after the children for her, cleaning the house and doing it. Part of her brain says, I don't really want to be well, I'm being looked after and everything's taken care of.
Giving me a rest, thank you very much.
So you then think, well, it's not just curing her physical, because the cold or flu will go, it's then putting the mental state of saying, well, I better get back and look after all the kids as well. Now, a lot of people do that automatically themselves, but it's that sort of edge. Is it worth them being ill, or is it worth them not being ill? And that's a mental state as well as the physical.
And are you a believer that illness happens for a reason?
Oh yes, I mean there are accidents and other things that come in poisonings and things like that. But often illnesses will come for a reason, or rather not so much the specific illness, but the fact that somebody is ill. That's come for a reason. Change of direction, change of thinking, slow them down. The old saying that death is nature's way of telling you to slow down still applies.
Oh, it certainly works as well, doesn't it? Now, that's the health side of things, but you also dowse for earth energies as well, don't you?
Some of the earth energies can be very beneficial to people. They can be beneficial through affecting waters or areas, or they can be like lines, because the earth, everyone remembers from their school days, you've seen a magnetic field of the earth with all the lines of energy running around it from magnetism. The same happens for other forms of energy, which
dowses. You're talking about ley lines and the likes.
Ley lines and the likes. There is something called a Curry grid, which is like a map all over the earth of lines of force short distance away, like a net throughout the whole earth. Not very high energy, but all there. And again, it's another little energy source. Most of the time they're benign, but occasionally you get some that are not good for certain people. It doesn't have to be for everybody, but it could be not good for certain people.
So living in a certain area near, a power station or something like that can have implications for people's health as well then?
Oh yes, and they've done work about people having various illnesses underneath power lines, and there has been work done on that. There's serious scientific studies, and there is a greater increase in it. What you have to do is, there are 2 ways of doing it. You can either say, like a power station, the best answer for you, because you're not compatible with it, is to move away. Some people thrive in it, others don't. Or, if it's a line that's running through a house, it could be as simple as moving your bed 3 foot the other way, and you're off the line because it's a narrow line. Or you can have a dowser in that specialises in that style of work, and they alter the frequency of that energy flow
And I think about people placing crystals in certain locations to...
That's it. If you think back, crystals used to be used in the old crystal radio sets to tune for frequencies. So crystals are tunable. You have a lighter, when you press it, it gives you a spark. That is putting pressure on the quartz crystal. You take the quartz crystal, put electricity through it, and it moves. That's your watch. So you can use crystals in all sorts of ways.
So, going on from that, there are lots of factors that are naturally occurring in the earth that influence us all that we don't really know about then.
Oh yes. Sometimes people are drawn to certain places, that they want to live in that area or things like that, because the energies are beneficial to them. So in their subconscious, their brain has clocked that that's a beneficial place to be. Mm-hmm. Others think there's no way I can live here. The same reason it's not beneficial to them, they want to be somewhere else. You can then get something like an accident black spot, where something quite unpleasant has happened. And one of the easy ways of doing it is saying it's like left a stain on the fabric of the building, the air, the surround. And some people are more sensitive than others to it.
Right.
Which is why you can have somebody walk through a haunted house and think there's nothing there. And somebody else sort of put their head in and think, oh, I'm not staying here. And it depends how beneficial or otherwise they feel about it. Mm-hmm. But they're all responding to that subtle energy.
Right. And you've also been doing some visits to holy wells across the country.
This is one of my little things that I like doing. Because I'm in the healing side of it, I tend to look at the properties of the waters. And when you look back at the ancient scripts, they will detail holy wells all over the place. Some were better for others at certain things. I've been gently going around the countryside trying to plot out which wells were better for which things. Unfortunately, quite a lot have been polluted over the modern farming methods and everything else. Mm-hmm. And their water sources have changed and moved in different directions.
Right.
So whatever benefits they picked up, either from the minerals around them, the energy lines, whatever, may not be there, but there are still some very excellent ones. Mm-hmm. Like when you go to Dowsing, which is over in Norfolk, you find that has got excellent energy, and the energy of that will tend to heal many different ailments, whereas some wells are very specific for certain things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously you can scientifically ascertain what minerals are in water, but how would you go about identifying what energy types are associated with a particular stream?
That is the biggest problem. There are no really delicate scientific instruments at the moment that will do that.
Right. They
can detect various frequencies, they can detect various things, and there's a lot of research going into water and water properties and the frequencies it resonates at. And there is a whole area of scientific discovery into that. And they're coming up with some quite amazing things. Mm-hmm.